Hello everyone, Brian here again. This time I'm doing a quick comparison review on two different blades. The first one will be the Gerber Outrigger versus the SOG Aegis Mini. At first glance, both blades look very similar, but I can tell you they are very different. To begin with, the blades themselves, the SOG has a satin finish, whereas the Outrigger has a titanium finish, although if you ask me, I think it's more aluminum than titanium. The blade lengths are the same, however. They are both 3 inches in length, but the steel is where it really differs. The Outrigger is using a 7CR17 chrome steel, whereas the Aegis is using an Oz 8. The overall length on both blades is very, very close. The Outrigger is running in at 7 inches, but the Aegis runs in closely ahead of it at 7.1. The weight is very similar as well. The Outrigger weighs in at 1.9 ounces, and the Aegis weighs in at 2 ounces. Now, I have to tell you, though, the Outrigger seems a lot heavier than the Aegis. The Aegis, when it's in your pocket, you really don't remember it's there. It's that light. Whereas the Outrigger, you will actually remember that it is there. And I think it has something to do with the fact that if you look at the handles side by side, on their side, you'll see that the Outrigger actually has a slightly bowed out handle, whereas the Aegis is just flat straight in. Let me get it from this angle here. Alright. Now, while we're on the subject of handles, the Aegis actually has a plastic handle, which I absolutely hate. I hate plastic handles. And the reason why is that if your hand is wet, it could potentially slip out of your hand versus, say, if you had a rubber grip mold or something that had some sort of texture on the handle to prevent that happening. Now, the SOG here, it does have the name SOG written all over it. I got it upside down. It has the name SOG written all over it, and that's supposed to be your grip on the handle. But I can tell you, this blade has already slipped out of my hand multiple times because it's very slippery. It's not grippy at all. If you look at the Outrigger has that rubber overmold, so it's very difficult, even when your hand is wet, for this to slip out of your hands. Anybody who knows how to use the rubber overmold will tell you the same. So that's one of the main things there. Another main difference that I've noticed on these two blades is that the SOG contains a safety, whereas the Outrigger does not. And then here's the safety mechanism. The safety mechanism is right here, and I have to tell you, I like it. It keeps a blade from deploying in your pants when you don't want it to. As funny as that sounds. But I absolutely hate the safety. I absolutely hate it. If you need to use this blade in a self-defense situation or an emergency situation and you forget that this thing is locked, I can tell you, when you're high stressed, you may actually forget that there's a lock on here. So you're not going to be able to open the blade whatsoever unless you go, that's right, I got to undo the safety, then go ahead and undo the blade. If you need to use the blade, those few seconds of remembering if this thing is locked or not, it's going to be all the seconds in the world you're going to need before you're dead. Versus you got the Outrigger. You have a situation where you need a self-defense weapon. Done. It just comes right out. There's no safety. However, this can actually deploy in your pants if you're not careful. That goes with any of the spring-assisted blades that Gerber makes. That even goes with any of the spring-assisted blades that Kershaw makes. And further down the road, I will make another video about the Kershaws, so that'll explain what happens there. We've ran multiple tests on the Kershaws, and I hate to say this, as much as I like Kershaw, I don't like how some of their spring-assisted setups are, and I'll explain that in a different video. Right now, we're just focused on Gerber versus SOG here. Alright, the next part are the clips. So, you'll notice the clips are kind of opposite. Let me get back that in the focus here. So, the clip on the Outrigger is towards the blade, whereas the clip on the SOG is actually towards the rear of the blade. So, if you're left-handed, put that back to safety. When you're left-handed and this goes in and you need to pull this thing out, when you pull it out, you just turn. Remember to take the safety off, flick blade out, you're good to go. With the Outrigger, when the blade's in, you got to pull, you got to kind of turn it around and flick it. A lot of people are not very comfortable with pulling the blade out and doing a reverse flick like so. So that you got, multiple different kinds of factors there running. Also, another thing is when you want to close this blade in, all you have to do is push the plunge lock, and the blade goes in nice and easy. On the SOG, you got to actually pull this lever down, and you got to keep it pressed. So when you pull it down, then you can go ahead and close the blade. Sharpness. Both blades are, they come out of the box really sharp. In this case, the Aegis, I would have to say, definitely wins. It came out razor sharp. Let me see if I have something to cut with here. Yeah, okay, so we got a piece of paper here. Here's the Aegis. Get that into focus like so. There we are. But that's not to say that the Outrigger can't do the same thing. Tore it there. But you can see the Outrigger is sharp, but it may not be actually as sharp as the Aegis. It's been a while since I sharpened up the Outrigger, by the way. So it may actually be a factor of the fact that I actually haven't kept it up to specs. So there you go. Now my table's a mess. Awesome. So that's it, guys. There it is. The Gerber Outrigger versus the SOG Aegis Mini. The Aegis Mini, even though they call it minis, with the same size as the regular Outrigger. So I wonder what the regular Aegis is versus the Gerber Outrigger XL. There may be some major differences there. What blade would I take with me, knowing that it's going to probably save my life in a street fight, or not a street fight, but a self-defense situation? I take the street fight straight back. I didn't mean to say that. I would definitely say I'd go with the Outrigger. But if I were in an area where I'd be jostled around a lot and I needed a blade still, I would definitely go with the SOG Mini Aegis, only because of the safety. For me, I still say that the Outrigger wins hands down, and that's not because it's a Gerber. It's because it actually it does what I want it to do without any problems. It won't slip out of my hand. The blade will deploy when I want it to deploy. The SOG could potentially slip out of my hand because of the plastic handle, and I may not be able to open the blade up and fast enough if I forget that the safety is engaged. So that's my 2 cents about it. That's my personal opinion about it. If you have any questions or whatsoever, just go ahead and leave it in the comments. And this is Brian signing off for now, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.